My name is Emma. I'm 28 years old. On the night of our 5th anniversary, my father-in-law stood up in front of everyone and called me useless. He said I brought nothing to their family. My husband sat there and said nothing. When I finally spoke back, his father pointed at the door and told me to get out. My husband didn't stop him. He just looked at the floor. I walked out into the rain with nothing but my phone. And then I made one call. "Grandfather, please come." When they finally saw who my grandfather was, they went completely pale. Before I tell you what actually happened, take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel and tell me your country in the comments. Now, let's begin. I met Daniel 5 years ago at a small coffee shop near my office. I was new to the city, quiet, focused on my work. He was the opposite, confident, charming, always surrounded by people. One day, he walked up to my table, smiled, and asked if the seat was taken. That one moment changed everything. We started talking more after that. Small conversations at first, then longer ones. Coffee breaks, lunches together, late evenings finishing work. With him, everything felt easy. There was no pressure, no expectations. For the first time, I felt like someone truly saw me, not my background, not my family, just me. Maybe that's why I made the decision I did. One evening, while we were sitting together, he asked about my family. I paused for a second, then said, "I don't really have anyone. My parents are gone. I've been on my own for years." The words came out easily. Not because they were true, but because I wanted something real. I didn't want him to look at me differently. I just wanted him to choose me for me. And he did. He didn't question it. Instead, his eyes softened. From that day on, he cared for me even more. He became everything I'd hoped for: kind, supportive, understanding. When he asked me to marry him, I said yes without hesitation. But our marriage wasn't easy. From the very beginning, his family was against it. They had different plans. They wanted him to marry into a wealthy family, someone with status, connections, power. And to them, I was none of that. At first, they stayed quiet. Just looks, cold silence, and unwelcoming presence. But after the wedding, everything changed. It started small. Little jokes, comments that sounded harmless but weren't. "You didn't bring much, did you?" Simple girl, simple background. I smiled through it, ignored it, telling myself it would pass, that with time they would accept me. But time didn't fix anything. It made things worse. His father was the worst of all. He didn't even try to hide it. "You ruined my son's life. You brought nothing into this house. You're useless." Those words never stopped. Day after day. And the most painful part? Daniel did nothing. At first, he stayed quiet. He didn't defend me, but he didn't agree either. And I held on to that. I told myself maybe he just didn't want conflict. Maybe one day he would stand up for me. But slowly, he changed. He started laughing at their jokes, ignoring my silence, sometimes even agreeing with them. "Maybe they're right," he once said casually. That moment broke something inside me. Still, I stayed because I loved him. Because I believed that one day things would be different. When Daniel told me about the anniversary party, something inside me lit up again. A big celebration, so many guests, everything perfectly arranged. For the first time in months, he looked excited. My in-laws too. They spoke to me normally, smiled at me, included me. And I believed it. Standing there that night, watching everyone treat me like I belonged, I thought maybe this was it. Maybe everything I had waited for was finally happening. But deep inside, there was a feeling, small, quiet, but real. Like something wasn't right. I looked at Daniel again. He smiled at me, but something about it felt different. And then his father stood up. He picked up a glass, and the room slowly went silent. All eyes turned toward him, and my heart started beating faster. I didn't know why, but in that moment, that feeling inside me grew stronger. Something was wrong, and I had no idea what was about to happen next. My father-in-law raised his glass, a slow smile spreading across his face. At last, he said loudly, 5 years of this marriage. A few people chuckled, and I forced a small smile as he continued. This night is very special for our family. I glanced at Daniel, but he didn't look at me. Instead, he was watching his father, almost waiting. That uneasy feeling inside me grew stronger. My father-in-law turned toward me, his eyes locking onto mine. And also, he said, a perfect moment to speak the truth. The room went completely silent. My grip tightened around the glass. What truth? I asked softly. He laughed. A truth everyone here deserves to know. My heart started beating faster. Then he said it. My son made the biggest mistake of his life. A few gasps, some whispers. And that mistake, he pointed at me, is standing right here. The words hit me like a slap. Murmurs spread through the crowd as I looked at Daniel, waiting, hoping. But he said nothing. My chest tightened. I accepted her, his father continued, thinking maybe she would bring something into our lives. He paused, looking me up and down. But she brought nothing. Soft laughter began, then grew louder. She has no family, no background, no value. Each word cut deeper. And my son, he sighed, wasted his future on her. I couldn't stay silent anymore. That's enough, I said quietly, stepping forward. You don't have the right to speak about me like that. My voice wasn't loud, but it was steady. For a second, everything froze. Then his father slammed his hand on the table. Get out, he said, his voice cold. Get out of my house. You're not welcome here anymore. I looked at Daniel. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Daniel? I whispered. He finally looked up, but there was nothing there. No fight. No love. Just exhaustion. Maybe you should go, he said quietly. His mother came in and pointed to the door. You heard him. Leave. I stood there for a moment, breathing slowly. Then I lifted my hand and wiped a tear that slipped down. Something inside me had changed. 5 years of silence. 5 years of patience. 5 years of hoping ended in that moment. I reached for my phone. My hands were steady now. No shaking, no hesitation. I dialed one number. It rang once, twice. Then he picked up. I closed my eyes for a second. Grandfather, I said softly. There was a brief pause. Then his voice came through, calm, familiar. What happened? I opened my eyes and looked around at the people still laughing, at the man who had just thrown me out, and I said only one thing. Please come. Silence. I'll be there, he replied. The call ended. I lowered the phone slowly. My father-in-law laughed again. Calling someone, he mocked. Who exactly? You said you had no one. More laughter followed. I said nothing. I just stood there waiting. Minutes passed. The party continued, music, voices, laughter, as if nothing had happened. But I didn't move. I stayed exactly where I was, calm, quiet, watching. And somewhere deep inside, I knew this wasn't over. Not even close. Because in just a little while, everything they believed was about to shatter. Then the front doors opened. This time, the sound cut through everything. One by one, people turned. The laughter faded. The music felt distant. A man walked in. Not fast, not slow, but with a presence that made the entire room shift. He wasn't smiling. His eyes were already searching for me. The moment he saw me, he walked straight forward. No hesitation, no distractions. When he stopped in front of me, my chest tightened. Grandfather, I said softly, but the room heard it. Complete silence. Daniel's father laughed nervously. Who is this? My grandfather didn't look at him. His eyes were on me. Slowly, they moved across my face. And then he spoke, his voice low and controlled. I'm her grandfather. A ripple went through the room. Daniel's father's smile vanished. That's not possible, he stammered. She said she had no family. No background. My grandfather turned to him now, his gaze cold, sharp. She lied. Because she wanted to be loved for who she is, not for what I own. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a document. I am the founder of Sterling Real Estate Group. The company you've been leasing your office building from for the last 15 years. Daniel's father's face went pale. That's a private trust. Owned by my family for 2 generations, my grandfather interrupted. And as of this morning, the properties are in Emma's name. Gasps. Whispers. Daniel's father gripped the table, his hands shaking. You can't do this, he whispered. I already have, my grandfather said. Emma, would you like to renew his lease? I looked at the man who had humiliated me for years. Daniel stood frozen beside him. His mother clutched her pearls. No, I said calmly. You have 30 days to vacate. Daniel's father's face crumpled. You're ruining me. Everything I built. You built nothing, my grandfather said. You leased from me. You never owned anything. Daniel stepped forward, his eyes red. Emma, please. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know about your grandfather. I looked at him, really looked. That's the problem, Daniel. You didn't need to know about my grandfather. You needed to know about me. But you never did. I loved you, he said, his voice breaking. No, I said. You let your family destroy me because you were afraid of losing their money. And when they threw me out, you didn't fight for me. He reached for my hand. I let him hold it for a moment, then gently pulled away. I'm not doing this to hurt you. I'm doing this because I finally learned to respect myself. His father tried to intervene. Wait, we can negotiate. We can work something out. I raised my hand to stop him. There's nothing to negotiate. You wanted me out. Now I'm out. But I'm taking what was always mine. I turned to leave. My grandfather stood beside me, strong, unshaken. I looked back at Daniel one last time. You know what the saddest part is? I said. If you had stood up for me just once, none of this would have happened. I would have stayed with you forever. Even without the money. Even without my grandfather. His eyes dropped because he knew it was true. I turned away and started walking, step by step. The room stayed silent. No laughter, no whispers, only regret. Just before I reached the door, I stopped without turning back. You didn't lose me tonight, I said. You lost the only person who truly chose you. And then I walked out. Because this time, I wasn't broken. I was done. My grandfather and I spent the next year together before he passed. He taught me everything about the business. I still run the company today. Daniel and I divorced. It was quiet. I heard he moved to another city. I hope he finds peace. His father's company? He found another building to lease. But he never looked at me the same way again. I don't think he ever forgave himself. If this story touched you, hit that like button. Subscribe for more true stories of revenge and redemption. And let me know in the comments, have you ever been underestimated by someone who should have had your back?